Good afternoon. My name is Nikhil Bell, and After School All-Stars saved my life. I joined After School All-Stars in 6th grade. I grew up in a single-parent home and watched my older brother struggle with gang activity and other delinquent behaviors during the after-school hours. After my brother was shot, I knew I needed to choose another path. All-Stars was that path that changed my life. I am now in my first year of college, and I am very grateful for the organization that was founded by Arnold Schwarzenegger. It is my honor to introduce to you Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, thank you very much, Nikhil, for the wonderful introduction. And I'm so proud of you because you chose the right path. And you know, the only way that our kids can choose the right path is if we give them the opportunity. And this is why we started the after-school programs nationwide already more than 20 years ago. And I've been very passionate about that because it gives kids a chance to have adult supervision after 3 o'clock, because more than 70% of the kids come from homes where both of the parents are working, so there's no one there to tutor them and to take them to sports fields and train them and all this and help them with their homework. So this is why after-school programs are so important. So we are so proud, Nikhil, for the wonderful work that you're doing, that you're now in college, you're studying business, and you're going to be a genius. We love you. Let's give him a big hand again. Now, I have to tell you, I love Ohio. I love Ohio. It is such a wonderful state, and I remember in 1970, my love affair began here. But before I talk about my love affair with Ohio, I just want to say briefly and recognize the passing of Nancy Reagan today. She was one of the greatest first ladies, an extraordinary human being, and such a wonderful partner to her husband, to President Reagan, who was without any doubt one of the greatest presidents in the history of the United States. And I know she will join him now in heaven, and this love affair between the two of them will start all over again. So let's please have a moment of silence for Nancy. Thank you. Now let me talk to you about my love affair with Ohio. In 1970, Jim Lorimer, right over here. Jim, come up here for a second. No, just come over here. Just come over here, Jim, because it's very important that you see the person that is really responsible with my love affair. Right here he is. Jim, now give him a big hand. This is my partner here, Jim Lorimer. Jim Lorimer ran the world championships in weightlifting and in bodybuilding in 1970. And I won that competition. And I told him that the competition was so well run that I will come back after I retire from bodybuilding, and he will be my partner, and we will be running the world championships in Columbus, Ohio. And that's exactly what happened. So from 1976 on, for 4 decades now, we've been running every year the world championships in bodybuilding right here in Columbus, Ohio. I just came from there because this weekend is the Arnold Classic Sports and Fitness Festival. It has grown now to the biggest event in the world. 200,000 people are going through there and watching those events. We have 56 different sports, and we have almost 20,000 athletes participating. Think about that. The Olympics have 12,000 athletes. We have almost 20,000 athletes participating. So this has really been the highest success when it comes to sports and fitness and the promotion of health and fitness. This is what this is all about. And the only way we could have done it is because of the great work and the dedication and the passion of the people of Ohio and specifically of Columbus. So a big hand to all of the people that worked so hard to make this happen. Now, one day, my friend Jim Lorimer said to me, he says, Arnold, since you're coming for the Arnold Classic and for our sports and fitness festival, I wanted to meet a guy by the name of John Kasich, who's running for Congress. This is way back in the 80s now. And so I said, okay, I'm coming. I came to the event. I listened to John Kasich. And he was extraordinary what he said. I just loved it. And from that point on, I was campaigning for him and I was doing fundraisers for him. And let me tell you something. When he then went to Washington, he kicked some serious butt. He was an action hero when he went to Washington. As the chairman of the House Budget Committee, he pushed through the first balanced budget. The first balanced budget since a man walked on the moon. Think about that for a second. So he showed real action. Then when he ran for governor, I said to him, I'll be back. And he ran, and I was there again at his fundraisers and did events for him and everything. And then he became governor of the great state of Ohio. And then once again, he was the action hero. He went in there was an $8 billion budget deficit. And now there's a $2 billion surplus. And not only that, he did this without raising taxes. As a matter of fact, he did the opposite. He reduced taxes by $5 billion. Think about that. By $5 billion, he reduced the taxes. And at the same time, he created more than 300,000 jobs. Now, we always talk about those numbers, 300,000, what the percentage is and all of those things. That doesn't mean that much, but each person goes home proud and says, I can provide for my family. I have a job. I am somebody. It makes you feel good when you have a job and if you want it and if you need it. That's what it means for each person, each of those 300,000. So, John, you've done such an extraordinary job with that. It means so much when those people go to work now. So this is the kind of action hero he is. And when he was, I tell you, he will be like that if he will be in Washington. Because right now, we need leadership like that. There's so much work that needs to be done. I tell you, I'm an immigrant. I came here in 1968 with absolutely nothing. But I was full of dreams. And because this is the land of opportunity, because of America, I could make all of my dreams become a reality. Through hard work and dedication, I was successful in bodybuilding, in show business. I became governor of the great state of California. I made a lot of money, all because of America. This is the land of opportunity. It is the greatest nation in the world, no matter what anyone says out there. And we need John Kasich to now take charge and be at the White House. And this is why I endorse John Kasich, our great governor, to be our Republican nominee and to be the next president of the United States of America, the greatest country in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome my very good friend, Governor John Kasich.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Well, let me just say to begin, by the way, that's the Kasich Express. It just keeps rolling. It just keeps rolling along, okay? I do want to say a word about Nancy Reagan because, listen, today my wife's going with me for a couple days on the trail. And I am thrilled that she's going to be with me. My staff is thrilled because they say that she keeps me in line. I have a sense that it was a little bit that way with Nancy Reagan and her husband, and she looked out for him every step of the way. And she made sure that the people that were... She didn't do that, sweetie. But she made sure the people that were around him were people who were committed to what he believed in. And she was an incredible lady. She was very strong and a total class act. And I got to tell you, she's now, as she used to say, with her Ronnie and with the Lord, and it's great. So God bless them and God bless America for what Ronald Reagan and Nancy Reagan did for this country. I don't know how much you really know about Arnold. You know about him as the Terminator. You know about him as the big actor. He's going to be on this new great show, The Celebrity Apprentice. You'll be seeing that soon. He filmed another Terminator. He's just, and by the way, he's taken the Arnold Classic global. They're on all the continents now. And it is just amazing what he's been able to do. And, governor of California, a great businessman, all of that. But this young man that was here, I don't know if you heard what he was saying. He knew that he needed to change his life, because he knew that if he didn't change his life, he would probably lose his life. It was a number of years ago when Arnold created the After School All-Stars. And this is a program that takes kids who could very easily join a gang, find themselves in drugs, totally isolated from everyone without being able to realize their God-given potential. And this After School All-Stars is an incredible program, and it's growing. And I went to California back when I was in television, and I went to this place where Arnold was going to be. And when I showed up, I said, "Hey, has anybody ever seen Arnold here?" They said, "What do you mean? He's here all the time. He's here with the kids. He gives 100% of himself." Because of his commitment to After School All-Stars and what they have done for children who need to find their way, we're now running one of the biggest After School All-Star programs in any state outside of the state of California, because it's been his leadership that inspired me to make sure that this program is funded and has strong support. Now, Arnold, came, he and I have been friends for a long, long time. And he came here in 2010. Governor of California, he flew all the way in, did a fundraiser, flew all the way back, had a terrible schedule and said, "I want to help you." But when he came in after that long flight, I was whining to him about the negative campaigning that was going on in Ohio. And I was like, "Arnold, this is really not fair. This is not fun." And he looked at me and he said some of the best advice I've ever received. He said, "John, love the beatings. Love them." And I've been loving them ever since, okay? And it's just great. It's just like moguls. Eat up the moguls, John. That's what he told me. And then when I won, see, he gave me this jacket. And I don't know whether you know or you can see it, but I am officially the Terminator 2, the Governator 2. How about that, Arnold, huh, sweetie? For the first month, I slept in the jacket, with dreams of grandeur. So I want to thank you all for coming. And when I talk about that Kasich Express that just keeps chugging along, back in 1977, when I was running as a 24-year-old kid, we had a little newsletter called the Kasich Express, and it just keeps chugging along. I got into this race with my team, because you don't do anything without a team, because the country really needs help. The country really needs leadership. I think the reason why Arnold and I are friends is we both admire great leadership. We talked about Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan enabled people to play at a much higher level than they would normally play. When we think about great leaders like Winston Churchill, listen, those people over there, every night they were bombed, every night there was rubble in the streets, and every night he went on to say, "We will never, ever, ever, ever give in." And these kinds of leaders allow us to perform and to be able to accomplish real things in our lifetime. And, you know, when I think about Ronald Reagan, I think about the resurgence of America. But you know what else I really think about? That night when we all watched that Berlin Wall come tumbling down, and people who jumped on that wall with their little hammers, and I'm not sure what they were pounding. Maybe they were pounding out their hopes and their dreams and their spite at those security guards that tried to deny them their God-given potential. But leadership can bring about great things. And do we have challenges and problems today? Oh, yes, we do. Oh, yeah, there's a lot of people who are worried that their job one day won't be there anymore, that some crazy trade deal will somehow hit them up the backside of the head, and somebody will walk in and say, you're out of work. And you're 52 years old, and you don't know what the future is for you. These are people who, look, they put their money in the bank expecting to get some interest, and over the last number of years now, they got zero. And they watched a lot of people who have wealth be able to buy into the stock market and do well when they were stuck. Their wages were not moving. Or how about the mom and dad that have hopes and dreams like we have for our daughters, that what happens is they're living in the basement after ringing up a big college debt and not having any sense of a future. Or the senior who worries about their Social Security. You know, am I going to get it? And the young people who believe now that there's a better chance of seeing a UFO than a Social Security check. I get that. Or those who wonder, can we be safe in America? Are we a leader of the world anymore? These are real issues. You know how I understand them? Because I grew up in that town. I saw if the wind blew the wrong way, people were out of luck and they were out of work. And many of you have been with me for many years. I've never lost, in my mind's eye, I have never lost the sense that people who at times feel powerless, who feel they have no one to represent them, who feel in a lot of ways that nobody stands up for them. See, that's what I've been dedicated to creating economic security, opportunity, giving you a voice, people who sometimes feel no one's listening. You see, I know that I can go to Washington and pull this together. I know that I can go to Washington Look, I know how to balance budgets. I know how to build a team of people that are willing to get us on a strong fiscal track. And why do we want that? Because if our job creators don't feel like they can trust the future, they'll sit on their wallets, and we won't get the jobs we want. I know how to deal with regulation where we've lost common sense. And I know this. I have no problem with people who work in the government. It's just if they want to make all the laws, they should run for public office, not make them sitting behind a desk when they're not in touch with the reality of how we create jobs in this country. And we know how to cut taxes. You know, we cut taxes more than any governor in America by $5 billion. And you think about this, you remember that first year I was in. You all had to get a seatbelt because you fall out of your chair with everything that was happening. But we killed so many, we reduced taxes and we killed the death tax. So a small business person could pass their business on to their kids and they could be successful. And now that we've killed the death tax, we're working on killing death. We haven't done that well on that one yet, Arnold, but we're working at it. And what's happened in our state? Over 400,000 jobs, a balanced budget, the same thing that happened in Washington. And the reason is because I take orders from you. I don't take orders from the people who are the connected, the vested interests. I take it from you. And my wife, God bless her, she knows it. And she's become a wonderful partner. The only one I take orders from is her. Okay, let's make that clear. But she understands what the stakes are. So let me just say just a couple more things. See, I want to shift a lot of power back to where we live. I want us to have the programs to run our schools, in our school boards, not some faraway place in Washington. I want to send welfare back here, so you know what? Welfare is not a way of life, but a way of getting out of the ditch. And we are doing that in Ohio, and I want to send those programs back. And I want to send the programs of health care for the poor, because we know we can do a better job if we were set free. And send back job training. And send back transportation. Okay, so I'm going to send these programs back all within the first 100 days. But I want to tell you something that I really believe, coming from that little town in Pittsburgh. You got it, man. Let me tell you something. That little town in McKees Rocks, our hero was Roberto Clemente. He was the great athlete. He performed like we all dreamt that we could. I didn't see my mother cry a lot, but I remember the morning she walked in my room in tears because she said Roberto Clemente had lost his life flying to help people in Nicaragua who had been hit by an earthquake. You see, in that little town of McKees Rocks, we didn't wait for any president to come galloping into our town. We didn't wait for some politician to come in and solve our problems. You see, the spirit of America, in my opinion, does not rest in politicians. We need to do our job to get things fixed where we're expected to do our job, what we are paid for. But the spirit of our country rests in you. It does not rest in a faraway city or a faraway place. I was in Gulfport, Mississippi. Hurricane Katrina came in and leveled the entire town. There was nothing left. Maybe a couple of the safes that the banks had. And they went and got the cash. And they put it in a Winnebago. And they set card tables up in front of the Winnebago. And people came to get the cash they needed to survive. And they wrote them an IOU and passed out tens of millions of dollars in cash. And when all was said and done, and all the IOUs were paid back, they'd lost a total of about $300,000. And when the regulators showed up from Washington to look at the Winnebago Bank, the advice was, get back in your cars. Get out of here. We know what we're doing. These stories are all over the country of people standing up and fixing things. And the last thing I really want to tell you is this. Do you all understand that you're made special? Do you know that the Lord has never made anybody like you and will never make anybody like you again? You see, young man, you have a purpose. Part of your purpose you did here today. You stood up here. I mean, did you ever think you'd be doing something like that in front of Governor Schwarzenegger and all these people? No. But you're reaching down. And we all have to discover our God-given purpose. You see, I believe that when we work together, we're a great, beautiful mosaic. And when we don't discover our purpose, the mosaic is incomplete. You see, I think when we work together, we need to live a life bigger than ourselves to help heal this world. So let me give you a couple examples. You're a nurse. You're done at 10 o'clock at night, and you're dead tired. But you walk back into that room where that family is sitting there on the edge of their chairs, worrying about their loved ones. And you take a few more minutes to say, it's going to be okay. Or if you're a teacher and you gave up big salaries because you believe that you're changing the lives of young people, see, you found your purpose. And if you're a physician and you call the patient at 11:30 at night because you just can't sleep, you're living your purpose. And sometimes it's not even that complicated. How about the widow who was married for 52 years? No one calls her anymore. And you call her on Monday and say, my spouse and I are going to take you out to dinner on Saturday. On Thursday, she goes and gets her hair done. And on Saturday, when you pick her up, she puts on the dress that she hadn't worn in 6 months. Did you change the world? I think you did. You see, I'll take care of these things in Washington. If I need help, I'll call you, okay? I'll call you. But back here, we need to pull our communities together. We need to destroy the curse of drugs. We need to rebuild our schools. We need to fight poverty, and we need to connect with one another, because that's the spirit of America. That's where the America lives, in our neighborhoods, in our families, and in our communities. So we're coming up to an election. We're going to have an election in Michigan on Tuesday. You know, I told him that, you know, I asked Urban Meyer to lay down in that Michigan State game, knowing the primary was coming. Let him win yesterday in basketball. I'm covering everything, okay? And we're going to do well. We're going to do well. And then we're coming here. We're coming here. I think it's important that in Ohio, we not only send a message to the country, but we send a message to the world that positive efforts in politics and not name-calling, sliming, or big suggestions about how you're going to fix things, that a positive message in raising the bar for our kids will win. Will win in this country, and will move America forward. Thank you all very much, and God bless y'all. Thank you.